Well. The Umbrella Academy, season one. Now I don't really know if I'm gonna I'm gonna try and be as quickly as I can because I want to get straight into season two as well. Because right now I'm busy still watching season three, and I want to get like a whole review out for the entirety of the season. But I just want to go through season one, man. Just to start off, season one was really good, and honestly, I didn't really know anything about Umbrella Academy. I heard people talking about it. I didn't really know anything about it though. I kept on seeing the kid from Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn. I don't really know the actor's name, so I apologize for not really shouting him out. But AKA Five, I kept on seeing him everywhere on the posters and on YouTube compilations of him and people talking about him and analysis videos and all that. So I didn't really know much about this show outside of seeing him. But overall, I thought season one was a really good show, and I can definitely see myself rewatching this sometime in the future, once I forget about it, because I literally just spent like the last couple of days just watching Umbrella Academy and really taking things in. And I just got done watching season two not too long ago, and I'm currently, as I said, watching season three. But just to go over the first, I want to go over all the characters, and then I'll go over the my thoughts on the story and the season itself as a whole. Um, One thing I'm going to talk about though, that actually, no, I'm probably just going to wing it, but I kind of like the at first when I first heard it. I didn't really like the fact that they have licensed music in every single episode. Like, I feel like for me that started to kind of get annoying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate when some shows do it, but like, and I get like this is like a music heavy show. I mean, if that's not evident, from like the first episode. I mean, I like the way they incorporate it sometimes, but I feel like overall, I feel like it gets kind of a little too much for me to the point where I'm just not really in tune with the song, or I don't really care about the song being played. I just care about what's going on the screen, basically. So, I mean, there's that. Number one, uh, get out of here, Amazon. Number one, Luther. I like how he has like a leader complex. How he always thought of himself as being the number one leader, and him trying to bring everyone together, and him not leaving the house outside of going to the moon. So I like Luther. Considering the way that he treated Vanya by the end of the season, I don't really like him as much as I did when I first saw him. So I don't really like him because of technically, I mean, if you want to get technical with it, he was technically one of the main reasons that caused the apocalypse and Vanya becoming, the final villain. But yeah. So oh, I mean, of course, spoilers. I'm gonna have like that little tag up so that way you can know I'm gonna kind of spoil some parts of the show. Um, but yeah, I like Luther. I like his little leader complex and his character. And yeah. Number two, Diego, he has like this Batman hero type complex in a way where he has to be the hero and he has to be the savior, and he doesn't really expect a thank you. He just likes to basically save the day all the time. I don't know if it's really that I don't know if he really explains it or if the show actually goes over it, but I kind of like that part of his character. And he is an asshole in the first couple of episodes, definitely towards his siblings. And I mean, he's still an asshole throughout, like, the crux of the show. But once, like, the more the show goes on, he starts to become more of a likable asshole. We start to like him, we start to appreciate him. And you could really say that about all the other characters, which is what I like about this show. Is the fact that we really love the characters more and more as the show goes on. So, you know, initially I liked Luther. I didn't really like Diego, but now currently where I'm at in the show, of course I do like Diego too. I like all of the siblings. Number three being Allison. She's I guess technically like the famous one of the family. Like she's a movie star. She goes on to have her own movie, so I think that's pretty cool. And she has like, oh, I didn't even go over the powers. So Luther, he has like super strength. I mean, I guess he technically did have super strength, like without the werewolf. Not the werewolf, but the ape. I guess the gorilla physique that he has compared to, so he has super strength. Diego has this ability with knives, or he can I believe control knives. If not, then I think it's something else. Like we don't really get to see Diego use his power that often compared to somebody. We don't really get to see Diego use his power that much compared to somebody like Vanya or Five, or even Klaus, because Klaus is using his power every single episode too. But we don't really get to see Diego use his power like that, or we don't really get to see it, technically explained like the others are. So I think it has something to do with him controlling knives, or him like I don't know. I forgot what it technically is, to be honest with you. I got to look it up after this. But yeah, 3 for 3. I like all or Allison. I'm sorry, I don't want to skip over Allison. I honestly like the relationship between her and Luther. I'm not really dying to, and it honestly kind of hit me, the fact that they never really went back to it after the day that wasn't episode, which I honestly found to be interesting. And I know all the Luther Allison shippers out there aren't really too pleased to see their favorite couple not getting the attention that it deserves. but but yeah, I like their relationship. I like the relationship between her and Vanya. I like how they connect as sisters, how they're the only sister relationship in the family. I like her power too. I heard a rumor. I think that's really cool in the way that she does it. And I honestly wonder, how can it be used? Like, can she only use it on one person, or can she use it on multiple people? Like, because we've never really seen her get like a big, one of those speaker microphones and her just say, "I heard a rumor," to like a whole group or mass of people. So I feel like if she can really tap it in like that, her power could be really, really effective. Um, so that's enough about Allison for me off the top of my head. Klaus. I know Klaus is, outside of Five, I know Klaus is a fan favorite. I know, like, literally everyone says that Klaus is the best character in the show, and it's honestly really hard to argue that. Like, the only person I would argue of being, a better character than Klaus is probably Vanya for me. But Klaus is definitely one of my favorite characters in the show. I would say Klaus for me is like top three. Again, like it's Vanya, Five, and Klaus, like in no specific order. I really like Klaus. I like how he has like this free personality. I like how he starts off as like he starts off as like this drug taker, this drink. Like all he does is drink all day, smoke. He takes all of this alcohol, these drugs to get away from his power, so that way he doesn't have to hear the voices that are in his head. Because and it's really haunting to think of how this has traumatized him throughout the years, and how he hasn't been able to unlock his full power. And part of that is because of his father. And I know Reginald, he's not really going to be the type to really admit when he's wrong, but I feel like he kind of went about trying to unlock Klaus's power in the wrong way. And I feel like Klaus does a great job at not only strengthening his power, but his resolve and his mental ability. And I think Klaus might be, I think, probably the most influential character throughout in the entirety of the show, because how he not only enhances his ability, his power, but he stops smoking, he stops taking that alcohol, he stops, doing drugs. Like, he starts to sober up, and I believe he sobers up for about like 3 years, and I honestly think that's really impressive. Um, but yeah, man, yeah, don't you cut off on me? No, we're not doing that. But I think that's really impressive, and Klaus is definitely one of my personal favorite characters. I feel like he has one of my, well, I wouldn't say like one of my personal favorite relationships, but I like the relationship between him and Dave and how that mentally affects him and how Dave's loss affects him and how it's kind of the crux of him throughout season 2. I think that's really good. Um and I like how his character journey in season 2 has kind of a sad ending compared to everyone else. Well, I mean everyone else does have a sad ending too because leaves Vanya leaves Sissy. Um, Vanya leaves Sissy. Allison leaves Ray. I liked Ray. We'll get to that in the season 2 review. But Vanya leaves Sissy. Allison leaves Ray. Klaus has to leave Dave. Technically, like Klaus was basically trying to get Dave not to go to the war because he knows he's eventually gonna die out there. And in the end, Dave is perfectly fine with it. He says like if he dies, he's gonna die for his country, etc., etc. I don't want to go too off topic because this is only season 1, but I like Klaus's character, and I feel like he's one of my top 3, if not top 2, favorite characters in the entire show. And yeah, and I like and he definitely has his funny moments, honestly, man. And I'm trying to think of what else I can say about Klaus. No, I feel like that's really it. Yeah, I like Klaus. I am a Klaus fan, not as much as other people are. But let's move on to number 5, being 5, basically. I feel like if anyone else like had like their number be a name, it wouldn't really work as much outside of it being 5. So I like how Five's name is 5, basically. Five is a very, I would say, complex character because this dude literally has to plan for an apocalypse like 2 weeks in a row. Like, this man Five has like a wild time, bro. Like, this man has to try and outwit and out survive 2 apocalypses, like I think the first one was like 8 days in advance, and then the second one was like I want to say like 6 days. I think I might be wrong on that. But yeah, man, this man Five was going through it. Um. What else can I say about Five? Five is really funny. I like Five. We don't really get that much character development. I like how much Five would sacrifice for his siblings and how much he actually really cares about them, even though he treats them like shit in season 1. But yeah, man. Again, I do like that because on the surface, it seems like he doesn't give a shit about them, but he makes most of his sacrifices in the show for them. He really cares about them, and he really, I'd say he probably cares about them more than everyone else does in the family, to be honest. Like, he really loves his siblings, and he really cares about them, and he really would sacrifice, almost anything for them, and I feel like that's a really heartwarming thing to think about. Um, and you could argue that Five is like the heart of the family in a way, because he does help to bring everyone together. Like, when everyone is all split up and doing their own thing, Five helps to kind of bring them all together and keep them together. He's like kind of the glue of the family, and honestly, I think that's a really cool thing. Um, if there's anybody in the show I don't want to be, it's Five. Yeah, that's without question. If there's anybody in the show I don't want to be, it's Five. Number 6 is Ben. Of course he's dead, but he's still there in spirit, with Klaus because he's too afraid to go into the light and be forgotten. And man, we'll talk more about it in season 2, but man, if there's anyone who has one of the best death scenes I've seen in a while, it's Ben, dude. Like, I did not expect this show to make me cry. I'm being dead ass. I did not expect this show to make me cry, but this show made me shed tears, bro. I'm over here wiping my eyes with my freaking forearm, man, because, like, dude, it was such a sad scene. Like, when when he was meeting Vanya for the first time, in over God knows how long, over 10 years, or the first time he died. And then when he's afraid to go into the light, he says, "Can you hug me?" Like it's such a heartwarming scene, and I'll try and get into it more in the season 2 review. But that was such a beautiful scene. Probably my favorite scene in all of season 2, maybe because season 2 has a lot, man. But Vanya, I do like her character arc. I thought the relationship at first between her and Leonard was something heartwarming and something that I was gonna really like. Then it turned out this nigga Leonard was a complete a complete and utter psychopath, and he only wanted to bring the best out of Vanya, so I think he could probably control Vanya. And I love the twist, and I love the twist of Leonard not being the technical of him not being the final villain of the season, which honestly really surprised me. Like Vanya is the final boss of the season. She's the main villain. And throughout all of this show, like all of this hatred, all of this sorrow that she's put through that's built up, she becomes the final villain. And I think that's a really cool thing. And a really cool plot twist too, because none of us really, anticipated it. Um Trying to think of what else I can talk about. I mean, I think that's it. I can't really think of anything else I want to talk about. I feel like the show does time travel really well and really effectively. Like when Klaus is gone for over 10 months, and how that affects him as a character. I think that's a really cool thing. Uh, what else, man? What else? Like the Allison Luther relationship, and I know some people are gonna think that they're sickos for that, but when you're cramped up in a house and you have nothing else to do, and when the two are literally not biological, like they're not biological siblings whatsoever, so I don't really know why people are up in arms about this possibly, but yeah, it makes sense. I like the relationship. I like the pairing. I'm trying to think. If I could pick out a dynamic for this family, I wonder who would be my favorite dynamic. Five and Claws, probably not. Honestly, I really like the Luther Diego dynamic. I like if I had to pick my favorite dynamic throughout the entire family. I feel like it might be Luther and Diego. Like it really dawned on me how heartwarming it was to see the two brothers interacting, because in episode 1 Luther kind of accused Diego of having something to do with father's death, you know what I'm saying? And at first I thought it was, but it nah. Um and I like the twist of him technically killing himself to bring all his siblings together, which man, hey, bro, like, hey, this nigga's crazy, bro. He might be a smart old man, but he's crazy as hell. Um, just to bring them all together, which I thought was wild as hell. Um, I was gonna say like I wish that they would have had like a heartwarming scene with the dad, but I mean I guess the dad only saw them as lab rats. I guess he only saw them as like lab rat experiments in a way. So yeah, I mean it's pretty messed up. And yeah, I mean season 1 was a really good season. I'd say as like like I'd say it's probably the best season from a storytelling standpoint in my opinion. I love the way the season flowed and how it got better and better as the show went on, and how things really came together in the final episode, and how we were left on the cliffhanger of thinking to ourselves, where did they go, where did they go, you know what I'm saying? um and yeah, man, I don't really know what else to say, honestly. I feel like this is a really good season. This is something that I will definitely go back and watch if I'm watching it with my family, friends, or if I ever forget about it and I'm bored and I want to watch something on Netflix. I highly recommend the Umbrella Academy season 1, and yeah, yeah, really good season, man. Possibly the best one in my honest opinion, and yeah, yeah, can't click it for some reason. There we go.